No. Hey y'all. So I saw Morbius last night, and it wasn't great. So I saw it with my fiance, and afterwards we were talking about it, and we both agreed we would rather watch the Van Forstick movie again. That's how bad this is. It is truly a marvel, pun intended, at how bad this movie is. It is terrible. And I'm like, I wasn't even sure if I was gonna make a video. I've been spending all day trying to figure out if I made a video, what would I say? I figured, you know what, I haven't posted in a while, let's just turn on the camera and talk and see what I can say. I guess I'll start with saying this. When Sony came out and said that they were going to do a cinematic universe of Spider-Man villains, I had two thoughts. My first thought was, okay, that makes sense. You know, Sony wants to keep hold of Spider-Man, they want to own him and have him in their movies, but as of right now, for the last 20 years, the way that they've been doing that is rebooting him. You know, there's a reason that we've had 3 Spider-Man in the last 20 years. So yeah, that it makes sense to do movies about his villains, because then you can keep using those rights that you own without having to oversaturate the market with Spider-Man. Then I had a second thought, and that was, that's never gonna work. Because it's like, so many Spider-Man villains exist to be a villain to Spider-Man. Like, how do you make a movie about them? Then they came out with the Venom movies, and that kind of proved that point. Those movies are bad. But then they came out and they said, we're gonna do a Morbius movie. And the first thought I had was, again, like I said with the original idea, makes sense. Because Morbius is not a villain that people typically, when they hear his name, unless you're a comic book fan, you're not going to immediately think, oh, Spider-Man villain. That's what Morbius is. And then he's just a vampire, so you can just tell a regular run-of-the-mill vampire movie. It makes a lot more sense than trying to do, like, a Green Goblin standalone movie, or Doc Ock, you know, villains that people automatically think Spider-Man with. Then they came out with the trailer. The trailer looked very promising. Like, you can't watch that, like, it has a good trailer. I love good trailers. But then the problem with the trailer is that it promised a very different movie than what we got. A lot of the stuff in the trailer was not in the movie. And if it wasn't in the movie, it was at the tail end of it, like the epilogue, like the movie's already over. And that's when that stuff happens. Sitting here, I'm realizing it's kind of pointless to talk about how bad this movie is. People are already saying it, people are already aware of how bad it is. What I will talk about is the practice of putting stuff in trailers to bait people into seeing the movie and then not giving them the movie that the trailer promised. Marvel Studios has done this. You know, like we saw with like Spider-Man Homecoming, one of the trailers, the final trailer shot was him and Iron Man swinging next to each other. They did it in Avengers Infinity War, where we see all the heroes running alongside each other and Hulk is there. That wasn't in Infinity War. That didn't happen. If I'm gonna complain about Morbius doing it, am I gonna say that for them too? And I'm gonna say it's 2 different cases. I think when they do it, they're doing it because they want to have stuff in the trailer, but they also want to keep, like, the big secrets hidden. And I think that's fine. I think it's good to try to keep as much of the main important stuff out of trailers as possible. In Morbius's case, I feel like they didn't know how to sell Morbius to people. They didn't know how to sell it, and so they were like, let's just make stuff up for this movie to sell it to people and get them in the theaters. It's literally clickbait in a trailer to get you to buy a ticket to go see this movie. If you really don't know how to market a movie, then maybe it's a movie that shouldn't be made. If you can't market it without having to blatantly lie to the people going to see your movie, then don't make the movie. I guess that's really what I wanted to say. I didn't know what I was going to say going into this, but that's what I want to say. Now, I do want to try to say something positive about this movie, just because even when I don't like a movie at all, like this one, I try to say something positive because I'm sure a lot of people behind this movie worked really hard on it. So, what's positive that I can say? The first scene of when he first becomes a vampire, that's a pretty cool scene. Like, I like that scene. If I turned that scene on and thought of it as like a Morbius short film, I'd be fine with that. I liked the effect that they used when showing his echolocation powers being put to use. That was cool. That was cool. Good job on the VFX team. I'm glad that this movie isn't over 2 hours long. Okay, 2 out of 10, it's bad. Goodbye.